Have you ever wondered how you can have movement in your static shots like this? That's called keyframing. Keyframing basically tells Davinci to start an action at this point in time, then end at this point in time. So whatever is between those points in time is whatever action Davinci will be doing. For example, we'll do the zoom with keyframing that I just showed you in the beginning. So mark a point on your clip and we'll do it at the very beginning. Then open inspector. And then to do zoom, we'll just do the zoom feature here, and you see this point right here. This is the keyframe, so I'll click a keyframe here. I'll tell it to start at this point. Afterwards, when it gets to this point, I want it to zoom by, say, 1.5. Boom, it's set. As you saw, when I click 1.5 at this point, it automatically did another keyframe. So there's a keyframe here, and there's a keyframe here. And you can confirm that by clicking this little guy down here. And you can see keyframe at this point at the start of the clip and keyframe at this point at the end of the clip, or the middle of the clip, I mean. So this action between, Davinci is going to be doing the action which we said is to zoom in. So let's try that out right now. It zoomed on the keyframes that we told it to zoom in. But let's say I want to zoom out. After he gets to this point, I'll just click another point. And then just change this back to 1. And you can see it's going to keyframe it back down to 1 at that point. So it zooms in. It's our endpoint there. And starts to zoom out to our next endpoint. But let's say you actually wanted to hold before you wanted to actually do another movement or zoom. For example, I want this to stay at the 1 zoom level, but I want to zoom back in after a certain amount of time. You would just click another part of your playhead and don't even input another number. Just click keyframe. So between this point and that point, it's still going to stay stagnant, but once it gets here, I want it to get back to 1.5. So enter that. We'll start our clip again. So from the beginning, it's going to go all the way to 1.5. It's it. Then it's going to go down, back all the way to 1. Right there. Stays at 1. Then it goes back to 1.5. And let's say if you made a mistake and you want to start off from scratch, you would just click, not that, go back to transform. You just click this point here. And it removes all your keyframes. Basically anything you see here that has this point, you could keyframe. So let's say position also. Let's start from here. We'll keyframe here. And then from that point, let's say we'll go to 400. And even though that's not nice, but this is for learning purposes. So start our video. Alright, and it's keyframing all the way the frame to the right. Let's just reset this from scratch again. Keyframes aren't just for videos. They could be for almost anything that has this little thing here. You could also keyframe, let's say your title, for example. So let's go to effects. Let's go to title. Alright, extend it a little bit. We'll just call this Keyframes 101. So let's just say I want this text on the screen to get a little bit bigger. And let's actually make that a little bit bigger right now so it's a bit easier to see. And also let's just make this bold too. But let's say I want this title to actually get bigger than 120 after a certain point. So let's keyframe here. So you actually wouldn't be changing the size here, which doesn't have the keyframe. You would do zoom. So let's start the keyframe here. And let's say at this keyframe, at this point of the text, I want it to be double the size of its current size right now. So let's do that. Let's start that again from the beginning. And here's our title getting bigger. And the keyframe is ended there. We went over videos, we went over titles. You could also keyframe audio. So let's bring our music down here. Bring that down here. And let's say for our music, let's start this all the way down to 0. Then we'll add a keyframe here. But at this point, go to normal volume and start the music. Let's try that. Boom. There is our music. That's the basics of keyframing in Davinci Resolve. If you found this helpful or there's something I could have done better, let me know in the comments. What else can I learn? And try it out yourself.